Juicing with the Peach is an experiential interview with Peaches McCahill, owner of the McCahill Group. Partnering with Clean Juice, we sit down with local business and community leaders to discuss their latest projects, challenges they've overcome, and get the juice on where they're headed. For decades, Terri DeBoer has been one of the first faces many people in West Michigan see in the morning, as she is the morning meteorologist at Wood TV in Grand Rapids. For more than 30 years, Terri has been forecasting West Michigan's ever-changing weather. In her debut book, Brighter Skies Ahead, Terri takes readers on an upbeat and entertaining journey toward finding peace, joy, hope, and purpose in the ever-changing seasons of life. Terri is particularly focused on the Encore season after her kids left home and left her behind in an empty nest.
So great to have you here. We've been wanting to get together and just chat a little bit about all the things you're doing. So tell me, what's the juice? What's happening?
Well, over the coronavirus pandemic shutdown of 2020, I decided to do a lifelong project, and that was write my very first book.
Awesome.
And so that was a big undertaking that I had. I didn't realize at the time I pitched the book to a publisher and signed a contract that the world would be shutting down, but it ended up being perfect timing.
Oh yeah, absolutely perfect. Well, it's so admiring. I've read it. I actually have gone through it a couple times.
Nice.
And it's I had written it. I read it prior to publishing it, and then reread it again. And so what was the inspiration? You said you wanted to write a book. What was the inspiration that drove you to write Brighter Skies Ahead? Perfect as you're
a meteorologist.
Right?
Yes,
Absolutely.
exactly. Well, as a meteorologist, I've always been someone who studied the weather and climate and seasons. And as you really do a deep dig on that, you realize that in so many areas of our life, there are just similarities to the weather, especially when it comes to the concept of seasons.
Yeah.
You think about our life and we start out in sort of the spring season, the growing up season, and then we make the transition into what you would consider summer, which is the young adult season. And then, we get into the time of our lives and we have kids, and it's just a complete whirlwind all the time, kind of like the autumn. We're harvesting what we've planted all those years. And then we eventually make the transition, as I did, with a lot of difficulty, into the empty nest season.
Sure.
And in the weather metaphor, that would translate into the winter season, when everything's cold and dark.
Depressing, though.
Yeah, I know. and it does become, it's a very depressing season.
Sure.
I know you're an active mom and grandma now. I was an active, mom and grandma. As life changes, the demands we have on us from our kids and our family really starts to change. And
Sure.
in some ways you can start to feel unnecessary.
Right, yeah. I know that having children, I read some of the things you were doing. You're so involved with your children. There's always something to do. And now as I have grandchildren, I watch my daughter kind of progressing through that same thing where there's dance lessons, there's this, there's that. They're still young enough that they haven't gotten there. But I get that void, but learning. So when I read your book, you started giving your tidbits and things and ways. You start out the book really with, why your career. Tell us a little about that, your career.
So I started my career in a bunch of different stages. I was growing up, I didn't really know what I wanted to do. I knew I wanted to have a professional career. I ended up going to college, and for the first couple of years, I was an accounting major, a business major, decided that wasn't for me. So I dropped out of college, ended up going to work at an exterminating company, and sort of as, a lot of these experiences and decisions we make in life happen in what we think are chance encounters, but there really are no such things. It was kind of this divine twist in the journey of my life. And I met a woman who worked at a radio station and ended up sort of getting into her inner circle. And I thought, boy, I love to tell stories, and I love to write, and I love to research. And so I went back to college to get a degree in television journalism. And then I was a reporter and an anchor for a couple of years, and decided I loved the weather. And so I made another change. I went back to school to become a meteorologist. And so there's a lot of these kind of twists and turns early in my adulthood.
Yeah. Well, we're going to toast to that with our first juice.
Okay.
So we're actually going to use wheatgrass. Have you had wheatgrass before?
I think I have. I was telling you that I discovered Clean Juice many years ago in Nashville. And I can't tell you just how flavorful and how delicious it is, and to know that it's healthy and good for me.
Right.
Isn't that the bonus?
Well, these shots are big. So wheatgrass itself is filled with chlorophyll, which is actually alkaline your body. So inflammation comes from acid and stress and those kind of, but wheat juice is also packed full of nutrients. So it's one of my favorites. So cheers.
Do you just slug it down?
There you go.
Okay.
This one, theirs is kind of sweet.
Mm-hmm.
So good. If you haven't been to Clean Juice, there's one in East Grand Rapids and one on East Beltline too.
As I started my career, I was this sort of free spirit. And
You were a free spirit?
Yeah, which is so funny because I didn't like what I was studying, and so I dropped out of college, and then I took this job in an exterminating company, and then I ended up going back to school, and then changed a couple of different times early in my career. And I was the kind of person that I would, if something didn't feel right, in a heartbeat, I would make a change.
Oh.
And then when I met my husband and we got married and I started a family, I went from a person who was just loved to take risks and loved to take chances to someone who was petrified of change.
Okay.
I was afraid to do anything different because I loved so much the life that I was building, and I tried to just hold on to it.
Yeah, I think we do that though, don't we? Because we're kind of doing that when we go through transitions to those seasons too.
Yes.
We like that life, and now it's got to be different.
Right.
So my mother always used to say, I can teach you how to deal with change.
Yes.
Life is so much better if you can take the change and know that every day it's going to change.
Yeah, and that was, for me, the whole idea in the weather, when there's a big change coming up, the winds blow, the winds of change. I mean, there really is something meteorologically to that, because the atmosphere loves to be at equilibrium.
Yeah.
And so when there's a low pressure center coming in, the stronger the low pressure center, the stronger the storm, the stronger the winds, because it's more difficult for the atmosphere to achieve equilibrium at that point. And life is the same way.
Absolutely.
The bigger changes that are unfolding, the more moving parts and the more chaotic it can seem.
Sure.
And, and that was, and for me, as my kids were growing up and they were so busy and so involved and they never met a sport they didn't like.
Yeah.
And there's always so much to do. I mean, I went literally from having so much to do every day and not enough hours in the day to when the youngest one graduates, then you're like, now what?
Yeah.
Everything it's like you've hit a brick wall.
Well, so maybe now then you start juicing every day.
Yes, exactly.
Start juicing.
So the next one.
So this is immune booster.
Okay.
So it's got carrot and lemon, and it's this one's tasty. I like them.
Okay.
Actually, I like all of them. So let's see what you think about this one. Oops, now I'm making a mess.
Oh, that's okay. You're allowed to do that.
No, we're mixing up juices just a touch.
Okay, just a little bit. Okay, cheers.
Cha-ching, ching, or whatever it is. Here we go.
Ooh, that is good.
Yeah, that's
got a little zesty.
Yeah, that's got a little bit of a bite to it.
Okay.
No, that you can have some water.
Okay, thank you. All right, I want to make sure that I'm following the proper protocol here.
Absolutely. Yeah. So as you've written it, some of the things that I found were kind of interesting to read about, and I made some highlights of it. You talk a lot about people that influenced you, and then working, and I found I did mark a quote. We're going from a year of last to a year of first.
Yeah.
That was a cool quote.
Well, and that was one that mom at my my youngest basketball end of the season party when she was graduating from high school. This mom I'll never forget that, because she said, we were all kind of commiserating all the senior parents, especially those of us that was our youngest. And I said, I just feel like this is, everything we're doing is for the last time. Mm-hmm. And she said, you have to really think of it. We're going from a year of last to a year of first. And that was, for me, that was a really big change in my thought process, because you have to learn to look forward to that. What is the next thing? Yeah. Because the end of something really is just the beginning of something new.
Yeah, I think I mentioned this one to you before. A friend of mine said, think of life like football, good pass, bad pass, next pass.
Yes, exactly.
So that's kind of thing.
Yeah.
So what's next? So and then you mentioned all these different things, your list of things you wanted to do.
Yes. Uh-huh.
So I personally created a list many years ago, and I keep pulling it out. But you talk about things you want to learn, new things you want to learn. So share some of those with us.
Okay, so I've always wanted to learn how to play the piano.
Okay.
I want to learn how to juggle. I've tried. So I was a baton twirler in high school and in college.
I can see that.
and I can throw a baton. All that stuff. And I have a hard time. I've tried to learn how to juggle. So that's one. I want to learn how to juggle. I want to learn how to do the Rubik's Cube.
Okay.
I'd like to learn how to create those big, beautiful fabric bows that you put on baskets to give beautiful gifts. I'd like to learn how to play tennis.
Okay.
I took a class in tennis. I needed a PE credit in college, and I was terrible at it, but I really feel like there's hope for me. I think I could be good. I really think I could be good at pickleball.
Okay, yeah, right. That's the new one now.
Yeah.
That's for our age category.
Yeah, getting better at golf. I'd like to do that. And and then, obviously one of them was to write a book. And so I did write the book, and then we've got the companion journal, and you actually contributed to this. So this is your copy of the journal.
Okay, I don't have this. I'll enjoy adding
working through it.
Well, I think writing things down.
Yes.
We do know when we ask people to set goals that when we write it down, it becomes real.
Mm-hmm.
Or if I want to learn something, I write it down. It becomes more real to me. So
and that's the you talk about writing things down and creating goals for yourself. I spend a lot of time sort of looking at that. How do you make something happen? How do you reach a goal that you've had? And it really comes with breaking it down into bite-sized pieces.
Sure.
And giving yourself a timeline.
Yeah.
I mean, the only way the book got done was because I signed a contract and had a deadline.
Right.
I'm a deadline motivated person,
right.
and that's how that got
But
done.
you mentioned Mel Roberts in there too.
Yes,
I
love Mel
her.
Roberts.
Yeah, so that's it. 5,
Yeah.
4, 3, 2, 1, go.
Go.
Start.
Yeah, exactly. I know. I think about that every morning. My alarm goes off at 2:30 every morning, and so when it goes off, and I'm tempted to hit the snooze, I have Mel Robbins in my thing. Oh, I can't do that.
So this is a nice, easy juice. Elderberry.
Okay, so elderberry. So what are the benefits
so
of this?
the elderberry, they're all packed with antioxidants, So I'm not going to get into my big explanation about antioxidants, but important for reduction of free radicals in your body. So elderberry, I think it's in itself that you'll see it in a lot of things right now. It's kind of a popular tea and so forth that has antioxidants in it. Here's the elderberry.
Here we go. Cheers. Good.
You're going to have so many antioxidants in you.
I know, exactly. I'm going to feel like I can do anything. Train for the Riverbank run.
Right. Oh, yeah. And that was another one. You did your run. You did 5Ks.
Yes,
that was a big goal.
Yeah, there's a chapter in there. Well, and when I did the book, I wanted to write kind of fun titles. It's written a lot like a chicken soup for the soul.
Sure.
It's 50 short chapters, divided up into 9 different sections.
Mm-hmm.
And each of the sections has sort of a different theme with it. The first section, the first 6 chapters are sort of about the beginning and kind of looking back and reflecting. And then we go through even friendships. I can say I'm so blessed. You're a friend in my later season in life. I mean, we first got to know each other in 2018.
Right.
And so it's fairly new, but I feel like you're becoming kind of one of those people that are my go-to people when I need somebody to boost me up and to make me want to be a better version. Drink juice, yes. Make me want to be a better version of myself.
Sure.
And I think that's a bad habit people can fall into is staying with people who are maybe toxic or not as positive or don't encourage them to be their best version of themselves just because they've had that lifelong relationship for over 5, 10, 20 years. And so I'm just so grateful that in this season of my life, I've been able to meet people like you, who I think God put in my life to really help me want to become a better version of myself.
Well, I call that spiraling up.
Yeah.
And when I do my presentation about spiraling up, I talk about what I call EV, energy vampires, people that suck everything out of you, and how important the people that you hang out with support your daily habits and the way you look at life. So when people are hanging around people that don't eat healthy, they're more likely not to. If they smoke, they're more likely to. So it's finding those people that support you in your journey and help you paddle. Really.
Yeah, and I really do appreciate that about you. I mean, you're always a positive, upbeat, uplifting person, and the person
this is
you
supposed
are.
to be about you, not me.
I know. I'm sorry about that, but I just really feel like I have to acknowledge that because that is really authentically who you are, and
Thank you.
Very important to me.
Kind of like, what's next? So you mentioned you're going to be doing another book.
Yep. So I have 2 more books actually that I'm working on in this series. So I did the book and the journal. The journal there's 3 different sections in the journal. The book begins with me writing a letter to myself. The year I turned 26, it was the worst birthday in my life, and I sort of talk about why that was. And then moving forward, I had no idea this life that I was about to go on for the next 30 years. And so in the journal, there's a a page of writing prompts for every page or for every chapter
Mm-hmm.
in the book. The second part of the journal is inviting people to write a letter to themselves at each decade of their life, whether that's a decade that you've already lived through, a decade you're going through, or a decade that's to come. And then the last part of the journal, which you're part of, is I reached out to a number of people that I know to ask why they write, and just to provide encouragement for people to journal on their own. So the journal was a vision I had for the book, and I was so blessed that I was able to launch them both at the same time. And then I'm writing a devotional that goes along with this, where I do a deep dive into scripture and just write about the way the scripture moves me, and then encourage people to do their own spiritual walk in this season of their life. And then the next season, I was sharing with you, there is a season to come after the empty nest season is where this book walks through. But as I've spent a lot of time with the book, and I've talked to people and done presentations and gotten feedback on the book, it really just dawned on me, I really need to name then what's the season? What are we in? Yeah. And so I'm calling it the Encore season. And so that's, what's the next, I'm prayerful that I have 30 years left. Yeah. And, I'll be 58 this year. So I'm, hopeful. My parents are both still living. And so I think I have good genes. And so, what do I want from this next 30 years?
Okay, we've got one last shot. It's called the hot shot. Okay, so this one's got turmeric in it. It's a little more of a little bite in it.
Cayenne? Is there cayenne in there? Okay, all right. Woo! Okay.
So we saved the best for last.
I was going to say, I'm probably not going to just chug that one all the way down or something. I know that's it. You're supposed to do it that way.
You're supposed to, but these are big shots, though. This is one for one person.
Okay, cheers.
Cheers. Ooh.
I know, I'm afraid I can't do this all the way down, but it's very good. Very good. Whew. Hello. Hello, taste buds.
So with the McCahill group, we have our big movement right now is called Make Move. So you talk a little about your wellness. You've done your 5K, you've done all these things. So in kind of closing, what's your next move?
So I think my next move for sure is the 2 book projects that I have, and really trying to find a person or an organization that I could really help them get their message out, and just kind of to see what that project could be like. Yeah. If you would have told me when I was in my 20s, just starting out in television broadcasting, that I would be, approaching 60 in a couple years and still have a vibrant, successful television career, I would have never thought that possible.
Well, thanks so much for your time, Terri. I do recommend that if you haven't read Brighter Skies Ahead, that you pick it up. I think it's at most
bookstores, Amazon, easy to find. You can head to my website if you wanted an autographed copy, terrideboer.com. And if you are interested in having a speaker, or you're doing a women's workshop or anything like that, have the 2 of us come. We'll put on quite a show.
and even though it's written for like the empty nester, I think there's a lot of things to read when you're younger, because you're planning ahead. So to think about that. So thanks so much for your time.
Sure thing. Thanks for having me back.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Thank you for joining us in another fun episode of Juicing with the Peach. The McCahill Group is committed to partnering with organizations to make moves for better physical, emotional, and mental fitness. Explore the creative services our team has to offer at McCahillGroup.com.